on, we wanted to read an email that we received.
Yeah. And I'll just jump in and read that out.
Great, thank you.
It says, I am recently divorced from a woman who was Christian but not practicing. I am now trying to get out there and date again. I've been on a bunch of dating apps and sites and have had about a dozen connections where communication has started, but every single time it comes up that they're Christian and that their faith is the most important thing to them. And when they ask what I believe and I respond I'm an atheist, I never hear from them again. How does an atheist get out there and date again when it seems like everyone is buried in their Christian beliefs and won't give any time to someone who believes differently? This doesn't just affect my attempted dating life, but also my relationships with my friends and family. I feel very alone, and any advice would help. So kind of a straightforward one, but also immensely difficult.
Yeah. I am incredibly curious about sort of the context. I mean, I know that I am incredibly lucky and thrilled, honestly, to be living in a city where you can set your, OkCupid search filters to atheist and it matters, or polyamorous or anything along those lines, and be kind of inundated with a number of different results. I mean, that community can feel very small at times, for sure.
Lots of double dipping happening.
Yeah. Well, that's the nature of polyamory, is that there's enough double dipping that you make it around the block quite a few times.
Oh yeah.
But in any case, I think that has to be kind of the place to start. And I know that's the answer that nobody wants to hear, but move. To an extent, it's opening up your horizons by being in a place that is full of people that are going to line up with who you are and what you're looking for.
Yes, I am curious to know where this person lives. That would definitely help that decision.
Yeah.
Another thing, depending on where you live, if it's a very small town, then your options are going to be limited. But I'm kind of remembering, I don't know if you watched The Last Talk Heathen, but there was someone named Raquel, and her kind of issue that she brought to us was that she was leaving her faith. She was no longer, or moving out of that, but she still was very socially conservative.
Sure.
And very much of a certain, persuasion, no sex before marriage, like all of these things. And we expressed that, you don't need to be polyamorous and kinky to be an atheist.
A fair point.
You can be somebody who is more conservative. That said, it could be that you're used to a certain circle of people, and so you're going to that circle of people to find people to be with, and you need to actively look for other groups of people, because maybe analyze your dating profile. What kinds of things are you listing as things you like to do? What kinds of things are you listing as places you like to hang out? These things will attract a certain type of person.
Sure.
So maybe look at how you're presenting yourself on these apps, and see maybe who comes up if you tweak a few things.
Yeah, well, and then I guess just a little bit of app literacy. It's not clear from this email where they're coming from or what app they're using. But, as I mentioned, like OkCupid allows you to filter people by their religion. And a number of apps do offer that. If you are on Tinder, you really don't have a whole lot to go off of. And you can find yourself, 2, 3, 4 days into a conversation, into a proto-relationship that is not at all for you.
It's also a really interesting, it is an interesting concern bringing that up in the first place, because if you're with somebody or you're interested in being with somebody and you have been talking, when do you bring it up? Because if it's not very important to you, but it's very important the other person accept you for who you are, bringing it up right away, you might sound like very aggressive, like the angry atheist, like, well, I'm an atheist. And if you're not, then I don't want to be with you. It doesn't have to sound like that either. Like if you want to broach the subject maybe in a more gentle way, in a way that facilitates communication and conversation rather than this is my line in the sand and this is your line in the sand. It can be tricky though.
Yeah, it definitely can be. And I think another piece of this, without, wanting to like overly analyze a total stranger, is the possibility that there's some discomfort around these religious beliefs. Whether that's because you came out of religion, whether it's because of, the relationship that ended and sort of the trappings of Christianity. If that's something that is really triggering to you, potentially you're being made uncomfortable by things that would otherwise, by people that would otherwise be able to have a great relationship with you. And so if that's where you're at, where you are just absolutely refusing to date somebody who has religious belief, which I totally support. I certainly don't require from anybody else. It is me. I'm not interested in dating anybody who has a religious belief, but just because you're atheist doesn't mean you have to date in atheist communities.
Right, that is a very good point. And I think the one line that kind of jumps out to me here is every single time it comes up that they are Christian and that their faith is the most important thing to them. When they ask what I believe, I respond, I am an atheist, and I never hear from them again. The way that conversation sounds like it happens a lot of the time feels very aggressive, just in the way that it's being relayed. And, I could be completely wrong. I'm misreading this. But there are Christians for whom it's not the most important thing in the world. And as long as you are respectful of their beliefs, if you can tolerate them, and maybe present things not necessarily as I'm an atheist and that's the only way, and more of, well, I'm not religious myself and I don't believe in any higher power, but do you want to go get coffee sometime? We could talk more about this, if you're willing to do that, that is also an option.
Yeah. I'm just thinking back of growing up in a small town and just the super negative thoughts that things that I was told about atheists and all these other horrible things.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm not sure exactly where they're at. But I could understand, if they hear the word atheist, they're going to run just because of the negative connotations.
Right, exactly. If you are in a small town, seeing the word atheist is kind of...
I mean, it'll clear a bar.
It's a good,
sure.
if you want a table by yourself,
Yeah.
it's a great way to do that.
Yeah.
I've got atheist stickers all over my laptop, and there have been times where the entire coffee shop has been crowded except for my table, and I'm just spread out, just I'm enjoying this a lot.
Yeah.
So, yeah, hopefully that helps a little bit. And thank you for writing in. If you are interested in writing to us and having us analyze you over the internet, you can reach out to the email address sex@atheist-community.org. Or if you're interested in maybe leaving a voicemail, we do play the voicemails on the air and answer them in that way as well. And that is our voicemail box at 512-666-0275. 512-666-0-ASK. So yeah, if you're not comfortable calling in or being on the air yourself, you can leave us as many voicemails as you want. Just make sure we know which one you want us to pick at the end.
Okay.